Tab Bartel with a very special player profile as we head up to Akron for this edition of Player Profile with Kathleen Jones, one of the middle blockers over there at Archbishop Hoban. Kathleen, how we doing today?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. As I'm excited to have you on because you're a part of a very, very fun group of Archbishop Hoban Knights on this volleyball team this year. And I find it always so interesting looking at this team because of just how young you are. Only one senior on this team, but you guys are still lighting the world on fire.
Yeah.
What's it like playing with such a young team and having that dynamic of a lot of the girls next to you are the same age and sometimes even younger than you?
Yeah, I think even last year, it was like I was still in varsity last year, so there were a lot of young players, even with so many seniors. So I think it just moved on from last year to this year, and I think there isn't really a problem with having one senior.
The thing that interests me so much about this team is that you have so many talented volleyball players, but it doesn't seem like one of you blows the roof off the gym, right, with stats, but
Yeah.
everyone contributes in a certain way. Where do you find your role with this team too, and how have you been able to make it to the max as well with your role and be able to produce on the court?
Um, I think my role, honestly, I just try to focus on like getting like the next point, the next rally. I wouldn't say that like I have like the biggest like kills or the biggest blocks. I think we all just like have our own special jobs that we do. Like I do my job when I need to hit right side or hit outside or play middle when I serve. Like I think that includes my role, but I don't think like I have a like top three place. Like I think we all just contribute like in each every game. So
You guys right now 18-0 on the regular season, getting ready for tournament time. So excited to see what you guys are able to do. I know you're a multiple sport athlete though too, so
yeah.
you really love taking it to the court as well in basketball season. Do you
Yeah.
have a preference in sport, or does it just depend on the time of season?
Yeah, I would say time of season. So right now, especially with our like good season, I would say right now probably volleyball, and then I'm sure when basketball season starts to get going, it'll be pretty fun too.
What's the earliest memory you have in the sport of volleyball? When do you remember kind of just getting involved into the sport?
Um, I would say maybe sixth grade CYO because I attended St. Sebastian, so probably then.
From sixth grade to now, what is some of the biggest things I think you think you've learned on and improved upon in your time with volleyball?
I would definitely say like the mental aspect of it and like how to carry yourself on the court and just be a better teammate and a better player. I wouldn't say I think skill just comes as you grow and like learn the game more, but I think it's really focusing on how to like stay in the game and be positive, and I think that's where better players differ from like worser players, I would say.
You go from sixth grade, you go through the middle school ranks, and then you get yourself into high school too, and of course, a very prestigious high school too in the Archbishop
Yeah.
Knights. It seems like anything athletically, they're usually on top of their game too. What was the excitement levels? Were there nervous levels going into Archbishop Hope and knowing that there's so many great athletes that have come before you that you got to try to live up to maybe not a standard, but you want to try to keep that role
Yeah.
going?
No, yeah, definitely. Especially with, because I knew some of the seniors, they were pretty good even the year before when I was in eighth grade. So coming in, you don't know like where you fit. So you come to all these open gyms and they're just all so good. And you're like, where do I belong? So you really have to like work your way up. And even with basketball, Lene coming before me, like everything just kind of falls in line with that.
Coach Maloof seems like such a great mind for the sport too. And I mean, I know he doesn't always like the interviews, but I think he does a great
Yeah.
job in talking after the game. What's it like having Coach Maloof as your skipper too, and being able to pick that mind of his?
I would say definitely he has his like serious moments, but he also has his like funny coach moments. Like when we're in practice, we have like a good like rally going, and then like something like goofy will happen. He'll laugh, and like we all just get along super well. And his attitude towards our team and how he believes in us, it really helps us like play better and like um, act better on the
Staying
court.
on the topic of coaches too, obviously throughout your career, you're going to have a few coaches in your life as well that have helped influence the player you are today. What's something that's been impactful that a coach has told you that's kind of stuck with you? Or maybe it doesn't even have to be a coach, but what's been something that's been said to you throughout your volleyball career, advice-wise or maybe quote-wise, that's kind of stuck with you?
Definitely this season coming in, we didn't know what to expect. So, I talked to my dad a lot. He always texts me pregame things. And, the one thing that stuck with me that he said is just each game at a time, just win the game tonight and everything will come with it. So that's, I feel like, really been my perspective of the season. It's just getting the game tonight and that's all you're worrying about. And then worrying about the next game when you're in that game.
I think you exemplified that in your guys' last matchup with Marlington, too. Only the second time you guys have been forced to 5 sets this season, and you were down in that one as well. When you talk about coming from behind, and it's not happened too often for you guys, is there a switch that flips, or is it just that you guys stay consistent, and then because of that consistency, you guys find success? Or what is it that you guys, when you fall behind a set, are able to turn it up and lock it down?
I think sometimes, depending on the type of warm up we have, we might start out a little slow, but I think it also helps with our consistency because as we stay consistent throughout the game, it differs on like what the other team and how they're playing. So I think that's a really well way to explain it, just how we stay consistent and then everything. We start to get more excited, more enthusiastic, and then it really starts to like gel and play good.
The excitement and enthusiasm are at high levels now because we already know what's coming up here in a couple of weeks. It's that
Yeah.
state tournament. And talking with a lot of your teammates too, I know and I understand what the goal is for this team. And you guys go through a gauntlet of a district, but I know Coach Maloof and you guys wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
What talk about having such lofty goals for this season too, and trying to just live up to that each and every game. 18-0 on the season. Obviously, you guys are doing a pretty good job, but what's that like having those type of goals, those type of big expectations for this team this season?
I would say having those type of expectations really isn't super stressful because I think Coach Maloof, he believes that we can do it. So I think we all believe too. And we really focus on that in our practice. We really like try to build up to the best that we can be in practice. So those expectations really don't like that's what we strive for, but I don't think it really like beats us down too much to where we're too worried about it. But I think we try to like live up to that, and I think we do.
Speaking of living up to, I mean, obviously there's been so many great volleyball players that have gone through Hoban, gone through everywhere. Honestly, this part of the state is really known for having a lot of great talent. In the sport of volleyball, was there kind of a player that you looked up to, maybe was a role model, maybe that you tried to emulate, not exactly copy their game, but maybe some things you took from their game that kind of helped you out with your own?
Yeah, I know last year, Gianna Mearsbaugh, Libero, we kind of got super close during the season, and her leading the team and always being positive and always being that person that you can like look to for like advice on the court or even like off the court. That really like stuck with me, so I wanted to carry that on for our team this year because I knew losing her would be in like the attitude like that would be a big loss for us.
You guys all seem to keep the positivity up on the court. And obviously, every year's team is special for different reasons. But when you're talking with this specific group and this specific squad for this year, what makes this year's team so special and so enjoyable to be a part of?
I think it's because we all enjoy each other outside of volleyball. And every time that we come into practice, we always like set up the net together. We do all these things together. We see each other in school all the time. So being friends outside of volleyball really helps us in volleyball, and being close with one another helps us hold each other to a higher standard without like animosity or hard feelings.
I like to ask this question to a few of the athletes that play multiple sports because time constraints are always present too when you're in multiple sports. But if there was another sport aside from basketball and volleyball that you would want to add to your repertoire, if you had the time, if you had the ability to, what's that sport that kind of gauges your interest?
Um, I used to play softball, so I would probably say softball. Hoban has a pretty good softball program, and I know the coach is great, and all the girls who play are great. So I would probably have to say softball.
When you talk about being time constrained, though, with athletics and being a multiple sport athlete like you are, I know that that's tough on its own. But then also keeping up the student part of the student athlete, the
Mhm.
first part of the student athlete part up is even tougher, and especially the expectations I know that are in Archbishop Hoban with their academics.
Yeah.
What's the difficulty like trying to balance both the academic side as well as the athletic side? And how have you managed to be able to do so? What's some advice you give to maybe some of those younger players that are going to come up into the high school ranks and know that there's going to
Yeah.
be some time management you need to have?
I would really say leaning on teachers and counselors and everything that you can get in school, especially in study halls, and we have enrichment. So using your time wisely is super helpful. Make sure you get your homework done, your studying done, and then after school, you move on to practice and that's what you focus on. But it always comes school first. So just being focused in school and using your time wisely, and that helps with time management.
Speaking on the school side of thing, what's some of your favorite subjects and favorite teachers that you've had there at Hoban?
I enjoy math. I would say
There's
math
a
is
lot
probably,
of math fans in the volleyball world, it seems
yeah.
like. I don't know if there's a connection or anything, but what's been your
No.
favorite math class so far?
Um, I had a pretty fun one last year. I took algebra one. I'm in geometry right now. I'm not sure if I have a favorite teacher, because they switch every year.
Mhm.
But if I had to say so this year, it's probably my Spanish teacher, Senora Mana. I had her last year as well. So just kind of knew her a little bit longer.
Shout out to the Spanish teachers out there as well. We don't get too much love for them. You look at your life though, but prior and outside of the sport of volleyball, what are some of your other favorite hobbies to do when you're not constrained with school and sports?
Um, I like to hang out with my friends. We just got a new puppy, so that has kind of been keeping me busy so far. Um, I spend a lot of time with my grandparents. I like to read, be with my family. That's mostly like
What
what
what kind of dog is this new puppy?
a French bulldog.
Oh boy, I've always wanted one of those too,
Yeah,
the little tiny ones. I'm
yeah,
sure I'm sure that's keeping you up
yeah.
and busy at home. You talked about as well though, going and being able to hang out with your grandparents and being able to read in your free time too. What's a favorite book? What's your favorite thing to do with the grandparents?
Um, I couldn't tell you my favorite book because
Just too many, too
yeah.
big of a list. I gotcha.
Um, I would say hanging out with my grandpa because he really he has a great personality and he has a lot of advice for just life and sports. He was like a professional athlete himself, so it's kind of neat getting to see his perspective and learning how the sports world is and just getting advice from him.
That's awesome too, that he was even able to experience that too. You talk about just having so many great influential minds that have been able to kind of help shape your perspective on life. I know you're still young, only a sophomore, if I'm not mistaken, in
Yeah.
high school, but have you given looks ahead? Have you given thoughts of maybe what you want to do post high school, and what do those thoughts look like?
I'm definitely have been thinking a lot about playing volleyball in college and starting my recruiting process. So that's really kind of my goal, I would say. But I think maybe finishing this season out and then seeing what comes with that and what kind of not spotlight, but comes with it and seeing where recruiting goes with that.
I might be a little bit biased because I know I cover a lot of the Knights volleyball games, but I could absolutely vouch for having a Kathleen Jones on the middle of your net too in any of the college ranks. Looking at that too and having those expectations, well, I guess goals rather is a better word of being able to play in the college ranks. And you already come from a family that has athletes in it as well. Looking at what you've done in your first 2 years and what more can be done in your next 2 years, what do you look at in that sport of volleyball too? Because that's the one you talked about. What do you look at in that sport of volleyball that you want to try to improve on, try to, up your game in over the next couple years?
I would definitely say um, blocking. I think blocking is a huge part of the game, especially when you get to play better teams. It really gives the back row even instruction on where they place, and I know a big block is feels so much better than a big kill. So I think that's definitely an area I can improve in. But yeah.
All right, Kathleen, before we let you go, a couple more questions. You guys 18-0 on the season, so there's been a lot of big wins on the year. What's the post-game meal after a big win? Are you going out or are
Post
you eating
game
in?
meal.
Yep.
Um our games have been kind of far away, so I've just kind of head home. But usually my mom has something prepared at home for me, whether that's burgers, spaghetti. So I'll usually just eat that with my family when I get home. There's nothing really ritually that I get after every game.
There's nothing like mom's home cooking though either.
Yeah.
That's gonna compare either, no doubt. Looking at your career so far, it's been so fun to cover. I'm so excited to see where you're gonna end up. But Kathleen, before we let you go, I want to kind of give the spotlight to you to give to anybody else. Shout out any of those big names that have been a part of your life that have gotten you where you are today.
I definitely say a lot of the girls from last year, my mom and dad, people, previous coaches who have like led us to more wins and just influenced me on how to be a better athlete, like on and off the court, and definitely my teachers staying in line with school.
Kathleen, it's been so fun to be able to have this chance to talk with you. It's been so fun covering you this season. We look forward to the postseason and future years covering you. We'll always be rooting for you here at YSN, as this has been a very special edition of Player Profile with Hoban Middle, Kathleen Jones.